This is the story of Fr Jules Chevalier. Fr Chevalier was a French priest who went on to found the Congregation of the Missionaries of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the MSC. He was a kind, devoted man who gave his life to spread God's love. He was born into a complicated time when God's love was needed more than ever. But these new ideas and freedoms also meant that people were starting to lose respect for the authority of God. Instead of focusing on devotion to God, they were focused on changing the world around them. New advances in science made it possible to explore the world, and this led to the rise of colonialism. Countries like France, Spain, and Britain sent out explorers to conquer lands. This created suffering for the people of conquered lands, but it also provided an opportunity to spread to them the Word of God. Fr Jules Chevalier said that the world needed something to fix all the indifference and selfishness that was growing in the world. This remedy was the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Fr Jules Chevalier would go on to start a new society or congregation, and they would be called the Missionaries of the Sacred Heart. Thanks to Fr Jules Chevalier, things started to change, and the people started to rediscover their devotion to God. This is his story and how he came to lead the Missionaries of the Sacred Heart. Jules Chevalier was born in a town called Richelieu in the west of France in 1824. He was an active child who sometimes got in trouble, but was overall a good boy. From his very youngest years, he wanted to be a priest. After his first Holy Communion, young Jules told his parents of his desire to become a priest. But his parents told him that they were too poor to afford to send him to study at the seminary and become a priest. He would have to get a job to help support the family. Even though he wanted to devote his life to God, Jules respected his parents and wanted to help with the family. And so he went and studied to become a shoemaker. But he was not going to give up on his dream. He saved up all the extra money he earned from shoemaking and always studied on the weekends. Eventually, his family moved to a new town where the administrator of a forest tract was looking for a caretaker. Jules kept up his studies, learning Latin and walking 4 miles each day to study with the parish priest. One day, the administrator told Jules that he heard of his dream to become a priest and that he would pay for his entrance to study. Jules was delighted, and at 17, he left his parents to go study to become a priest. Because of his years of hard work as a shoemaker, Jules was 5 years older than most of the boys entering the seminary. Even though he was older than his classmates, he was determined to answer the Lord's call, and soon his loneliness left him. One day, on a walk with his fellow students, Jules fell off a cliff. And everyone believed he had died. But after hours, he woke up again and felt blessed by God. After this life-threatening experience, Jules knew he wanted to do something great for the Lord. Together with his friends in the seminary, they made a pact to become chevaliers, Knights of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Jules was finally made a priest, and for some years the newly appointed Fr Jules Chevalier assisted elderly priests with their work, before being appointed as the curate of Issoudun. When he arrived there, he was surprised to find one of his friends, Sebastian from Seminary, had also been appointed there. Together, they would continue to live their promise to be Knights of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. They wanted to start a mission to spread the word of Jesus, and so they got permission from the parish priest, Father Crozat. They prayed for a good start to their society, and their prayers were answered when an anonymous benefactor offered them 20,000 francs to do good spiritual work for the people. They wanted security, and so they prayed again. Once more, their prayers were answered when a well-known French noble promised to give 1,000 francs to the society each year. Supported by fellow priests, in 1855, the MSC purchased a barn which became the first Sacred Heart House and Chapel. The church continued to grow, and in August 1860, Fr Chevalier went to Rome, where he had a private talk with Pope Pius IX, who praised his efforts to spread devotion to the Sacred Heart everywhere. In 1868, he made ready the first draft of the constitutions for the MSC Religious Society, and it was approved in 1869. Their society worked tirelessly to grow their mission and constructed a magnificent chapel devoted to the Mother Mary. The society had started with priests, but now sisters too wished to join. They became the Daughters of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. To help spread devotion to Jesus in the region, the MSC founded a confraternity, an association of ordinary people who could devote themselves to faith and charitable works. Members of the church traveled around spreading their message, and more people began to join. The church began to become more and more famous, and the statue of the Virgin Mary became a site of pilgrimage. People from all across France would come to receive her blessing. In 1872, the Archbishop of the region offered Fr Chevalier took charge of the parish and became the Archpriest of Issoudun. This was a time of great political trouble in France. The government wanted to get rid of any group that might challenge their power, and they ordered the MSC to disband. Members of the clergy were ejected from schools, and religion was banned from schools. The MSC had to go into hiding, but the police raided the town's homes and threw out the MSC sons from their homes. As the sons of the MSC fled to places where they would be safe from the persecution of the French government, Fr Chevalier asked his members to carry the spirit of the Sacred Heart with them as they spread. In 1881, the Pope officially asked the MSC to carry out missions in Melanesia and Micronesia in the Pacific Ocean. In September 1881, in a small MSC chapel, a ceremony was held to give goodbye to the first missionaries who would go to these faraway lands. All through his years, Fr Chevalier gave his missionaries utmost support, sending them money and writing them letters of encouragement. A group of religious women were devoted to the beliefs of Fr Chevalier, and under Fr Chevalier's watch, they trained to join and become the daughter of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. Fr Chevalier was truly leading a movement that kept growing and growing. One of these women was a lady called Louise Hartzer. She was a young widow and a mother of 2 brothers studying to join the MSC. Mrs. Hartzer spoke to Fr Chevalier and told him of her desire to become a daughter of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. In 1881, she was appointed superior mistress of the sisters and would take on great responsibility. Fr Chevalier guided the sisters, and with his encouragement, they became a strong group who spread faith and built a strong community. New groups of daughters were sent out to the Marshall Islands and New Pomerania in the following years. They spread the word of Jesus and did charitable acts, although sometimes this did not end well. Throughout the years, this love caused the MSC Society to grow and spread, and in 1898, at the old age of 74, Fr Chevalier fell ill and decided that it was time for a younger man to lead the congregation. He asked for permission to resign, but out of devotion, the congregation rejected his offer. Instead, they re-elected him as superior general. So Fr Chevalier required a vicar general, a man named Father Langton, and put him in charge of the congregation while he went to a peaceful semi-retirement in Issoudun, where the MSC had first begun. In 1905, church and state were separated, and the government began to confiscate church land. In 1907, the police came to get Fr Chevalier. They knocked on the door, but nobody opened. A crowd formed and cheered for Fr Chevalier. Eventually, the police broke the door and carried the old Fr Chevalier out of the building. He was taken to a house that had been prepared for him by his friend, the Count Bonneval. But by this time, Fr Chevalier sensed his death was approaching. He visited old friends and finished his spiritual works to be given to the MSC priests and brothers, the sisters, and parishioners. His final acts were securing back the property in Issoudun. He then spent his final months in the care of his devoted friends. On October 21st, 1907, Fr Jules Chevalier, MSC, died at the age of 83. At the time of his death, the society had 5 provinces and around 800 members, 4 bishops, 325 priests, 272 brothers, and 201 students. He was a pastor of people's souls, and there are no words to describe his devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ. His faithful parishioners wept and prayed for him as a saint. The MSC headquarters is today in Rome, and the devotion of God's love and charitable acts continues to spread around the world.